Hey, Eric.
Hey, John.
How you doing tonight?
I'm doing fabulous.
Fabulous. Oh, that's
Yes,
good because it's pretty late.
it is late. I am tired, but it was not raining and a clear night.
Okay.
So the school, I think I had mentioned before that we were going to go to a star party. My boys in a physics class, physics of astronomy, or is a physics class that has an astronomy section, or it's an I don't know. It's I don't remember. It's too late for my brain to work. Anyways, so today was a great day to do that. So we went to the high school,
Mm-hmm.
and they had four different telescopes. A couple of them pretty high powered. One from OMSI, and they had a guy from
Ooh,
OMSI there,
very
and he
cool.
had the telescope um, pointed at Saturn, and you could visibly make out Saturn and the rings. I mean, it was still pretty small, but it was quite clearly Saturn with its rings,
That's
which
awesome.
was super cool. And then we could also see Jupiter, and the little speck next to Jupiter was Ganymede. So you could see Jupiter and one of the moons. Um,
But Jupiter clearly enough to see it as Jupiter.
yes, it was Jupiter. You could tell that it was yeah, big enough that you could go, okay, that's definitely Jupiter.
That's awesome.
Um, and we didn't actually find Mars because um, it was a little bit too low on the horizon, so it kind of got washed out. You couldn't, it was like speck,
Okay.
larger speck, Mars. So, but it was fun. So that's actually where we went this evening.
My
Um,
recollection is a couple weeks ago it got canceled for air quality,
yes,
fires or something like that.
yeah, a while back, and so they've been trying to figure out when to reschedule it. And we're in um, rainy season here in Oregon.
Yes, we are. The rains
So,
have begun or did begin, although we're currently on rain hiatus.
yeah. So today was this evening was and then not a cloud in the sky and clear viewing. It was a lot of fun. We froze to death because we forgot it's also
It's
38 degrees
very chilly.
outside. Um, but yeah, it was fun. So that's what I did this evening before coming back in to be here.
Oh, that's awesome. Yep, I'm jealous that I would have liked to have seen that too. Very
That was
cool.
fun.
Um, so let's see. We'll kind of maybe swap off a little bit here because I know you did some other stuff. I got a couple things. I took a 4-day weekend last weekend. I was really glad we
Uh
recorded
huh.
on
Tuesday.
Tuesday night last week
Yeah.
because a Wednesday night, like as soon as my kids were done with sort of after school activities, which didn't wind up being till like 5:30 or so, we hopped in the car, my boys and I at least, and drove down to Southern Oregon. So it was like a 4.5 hour drive
Right.
down to Klamath Falls to go look at a college down there. And
Mm-hmm.
and so I spent we rented an Airbnb and which was great, and spent a couple days down there and then came back Friday. But so I had a really good time early on. That was cool, and I would like to go to that college. It was Oregon Institute of Technology, but the um, they had like the workshops they had there because
Right.
so many of the majors are practical and I mean mechanical engineering, civil engineering,
Mm-hmm.
robotics, blah blah blah. So but at least the buildings she took us through, the tour guide, uh, like most of the classrooms were tables surrounded by toys in the form of 3D printers and
Right.
um, you know there were like uh, bigger toys, robotic arms
Right.
and metal lathes and CNC machines and and they had a huge welding lab that you could only kind of see in there because they had these, curtains draped over so that nobody like accidentally looked at welding torches.
Right.
But anyway, it was a fun couple days. So that was one of the things I was gonna mention. And then we went by Crater Lake on the way home. And then
Crater Lake is gorgeous.
It was.
It's a sight to see if you haven't seen it.
Yeah,
in person.
It's a reason why it's on the, like, I was going to say
license plate.
It's on the license plate, and it's a a natural wonder of the world in the game Civilization 6.
Yeah.
But no, it was a beautiful day on Friday. Although I kind of came home the wrong way, and instead of a 4.5 hour drive being home, we kind of went through Medford. And
That's
when I was texting
south of Crater Lake.
I texted my wife
opposite direction,
and she's like, she was looking at where I was on the on the map. She's like, why did you hang a left at Crater Lake and yeah, go south? And I'm like, well, it was for the gas station, and so anyway, I wound up driving a lot more than I think I should have, but it's okay. We were listening to a book, and it's all good. But but so that was cool.
Nice.
That was cool.
Well, I'll see your 4.5 hours and raise you 7.5.
Yeah.
My 4-day weekend, although we ended up going to Grandma's house. 12 hours in the car each way.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a trip that we couldn't. It was a little kind of last minute. Why not? And I got a lot of listening in, and we just drove for 12 hours. Then I worked, from Grandma's house for a couple days, and my wife was able to see her. My niece had a baby, a baby boy, and my wife was jealous that she had not been able to play with baby boy
Said baby
yet. Yeah, so like, well, we can go. We have some other errands we need to do and take a few boxes of stuff that we can't ship, or we could ship, I suppose. But anyways,
that's all right.
So exchanges were made. My wife makes a raspberry jam, freezer jam every year. So we took out the freezer jam and traded it for peaches because her mom makes cans peaches, and so they swap jam for peaches every year. So that was fun. So that's what we did.
That's awesome.
And while we were there at Grandma's house, Grandpa and I went and saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever.
Oh, I have not seen that yet.
Is long, but it's quite good. The Chadwick Boseman passed away, so I think they kind of had to figure out how do we do the Black Panther movies without the Black Panther. And I will say they did a good job at doing it. And who you think is going to be the Black Panther, you don't know. The movie does a good job of hiding it from you and hinting that maybe it's this person, maybe it's this person, maybe it's none of these people. And so you don't know till, towards the end where you discover, oh, okay. So it was great fun. I don't want to spoil it for anything, but it was a good movie. I would recommend going and seeing it.
See it in the theaters.
Yeah. Big screen. It's big screen worthy. I'll put it that way.
Big screen worthy. Okay, I almost went with my boys down while we were on the road trip, but we decided not to. We decided to order pizza and play games instead. So
equally as fun.
It was it was good. Hey, have I mentioned to you or on the podcast about the Kawasaki Mule saga? I forget.
I don't know if you mentioned on the podcast. you have mentioned a couple times about your mule
I've
issues.
I've been I was stymied, and so I still don't have it back. But so this, I mean, it started a couple of weeks ago, of where the we use it around the place constantly. My wife uses it constantly, and it it started going at basically, the check engine light came on basically, and it went into what they call limp mode. It'll
Right.
drive, but not really. I mean, not fast, and it's basically, it's to go limp back to the barn. So I was like, huh, what? Let's start with the basics. Uh, I replaced the spark plugs, and then that didn't make any difference. I was like, well, let me do a oil change, and I tried to do basically a oil flush. I put in some, um, I checked the oil. It was a little low, so I filled it with. I topped it off with an additive to try and help clean it out, and then I drove it around in limp mode a little bit, and then I changed the oil, put in full synthetic, which I had not done before, and that didn't make any difference. And then I was like, huh. So I went down to the Kawasaki place, and I got a new fuel filter and a air filter. And the air filter wasn't too bad, but why not? And it's a little tricky to replace the fuel filter, because you kind of have to take the fuel filters kind of down inside the gas tank in this, and so you take that apart, and I replaced the fuel filter, and that didn't work. I was like, oh yeah, what was my last thing? My last thing was like, well, maybe because I just use regular gas in there,
Mm-hmm.
not ethanol free. I use ethanol free in all the small engine stuff, but that thing consumes enough gas that $8 a gallon gas is unhappy making. So anyway, I actually I siphoned out all the old gas. I replaced it with fresh gas, and I put a additive into the gas to try and kind of do carb cleaning, see if it was a
Right.
carburetor.
Yep.
And basically, I ran to the end of my rope, and I'm like, I don't know what else is wrong. Like, so my next thing was, screw it. I put it on the trailer, and I took it down to the Kawasaki place, and I said, please fix it. And this is all the stuff I've done so far. And then they came back to me with well, we think it's, and I don't even remember what he said. It's something like inside the block, though, where they're like, we have to take apart the the valves and blah blah blah. I was like, and they're like, it's the back cylinder. It's a 2-cylinder engine. I was like, okay, fine. It was going to be like $300 or $400. So I'm like, fine, good. It's something more complicated than I wanted to deal with, or could deal with. And then he calls me back just a couple days ago and was like, so we got it open, and we got the new part, and your old one's fine. I'm like, okay. Or yeah, he actually opened with, do you want the good news or the bad news? I'm like, the bad news. And that's what that was his bad news. He's like, your old one was fine. It actually wasn't that. I'm like, and so the good news? He's like, well, it's the ECU, or the electronic control unit. So basically the computer part. And
Right.
it's a known issue. You kind of diagnose it by fixing everything else. And if it still happens, then it's the ECU. And Kawasaki, even though it's out of warranty, has said that they'll replace it for free because it's a known issue. So it's you still owe us for all the other debugging, but you don't have to
Right.
pay for the $800 ECU. And I'm like,
Nice.
okay, thank you. And I guess I'm not sure what it would have taken, how I would ever have figured that out.
Yeah.
So that's my mule saga that I'm like desperately waiting for the callback. My wife is more desperately waiting, but I have like desperate adjacency for winter time is
Right.
when bales of hay need to get like toted around,
Moved
and it's a
around.
lot
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
lot more of a pain when you don't have an engine to do that with, for you. So
Right.
um anyway, that's my mule saga.
Mm.
I'm hoping
Coming to
that
a close,
it's
I
done.
see.
Hoping it's done soon. The Call me back. Let me go pick it up. So anyway, there you go. That's the other big thing. All right.
Nice.
Should we get to topics?
Sure. You want to throw your follow-up in there?
I did. So last week we talked about FTX, and it was at the beginning of the saga.
Yes, the late breaking news.
It was yeah. and I was kind of, oh hey, check this out. Oh, it has been there have been many happenings in the last week. It's been a week. It's been a year in FTX time. So so much crap has happened with that. Definitely Fallout's not done, but like when last we spoke, I think that it was crashing. I don't even think at that point the Binance offer to buy had been there, or if it had been, it was still contingent on due diligence, which like a day later, they came out and said, and no, we're not doing it. So it's totally collapsing. They've filed for bankruptcy, blah 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 blah. I just wanted to throw in for follow up. Here is a link to a YouTube video that has a good explainer of it, I thought. And
does it use the term crypto Bernie Madoff? Because that's what I've seen tweeted.
There were many terms. So this guy, Patrick Boyle, I've watched a bunch of his videos. I think he's really good. Clearly a smart finance person with a very dry sense of humor. So
I enjoy dry sense of humor.
It may or may not have had the words sultry wood nymph in it. So yes, go watch this video. But anyway, he's good. So that's my follow up. FTX, right. The FTX catastrophe continues, and here's a link to a good primer.
Nice.
There you go.
All right. Well, my topic I brought today was the title is an accidental $70,000 Google Pixel lock screen bypass.
An accidental. I didn't read this.
This one is one of those bugs that a researcher who digs into this kind of stuff stumbled across. So it's not like
inadvertent,
stumbled across, wasn't really looking for it. So the issue was, which Google has since fixed, was that all Google Pixel phones, if an attacker had physical access to the device, that's all they needed was physical access to the device, they could bypass any lock screen, PIN, password, thumbprint, anything you had. You could get updated. So
what?
The bug has been fixed in the November 5th, 2022 security update. So the article is much longer, but basically what was how this happens is if someone takes, the attacker has your phone, they pop out the SIM card and your phone is locked, pop back in their SIM card, and every SIM card has a personal unlock key. Well, I don't think we use them so much in the US, but elsewhere, you have a SIM card with an ID and then a PIN for the SIM card and then a PUK, a personal unlock key for the SIM card. And if you you swap the SIM card, punch in your PIN wrong 3 times, go get the personal unlock code, choose a new PIN, the phone jumps right past all the security, right into the phone. So that's the bug. And the guy who submitted it to Google was like, it was probably the shortest, bug report I've ever, vulnerability report I've done. It was 5 lines for it to reproduce. He was doing it. He tried it on several different Pixel phones and got it past all that. And then, so that's if you have a Pixel phone, make sure you do your security updates, because this one is anybody that has a hand on it, has a hand on your phone, now knows, or if they want to know, now knows how to unlock your phone without you doing anything. So there's a lot more in the article, which I won't go into detail. Just kind of go read the article. But for example, when he first submitted it, Google didn't take it seriously. And then they sent him a note saying, "Oh, this is a duplicate of someone else," but they didn't tell him they were fixing it. So he ended up at a Google conference, went and found a Google Android engineer and showed him, showed the Google engineer directly, "This is how I can bypass," and several times did it for them, and they're like, "Oh." And it got escalated really quick.
How did he wind up getting his bug bounty?
So the bug bounty came, even though it got marked as duplicate of another one, Google decided to give him, this person, $70,000. Google says, a lock screen bypass is $100,000. So he thought his $100,000 bounty went from $100,000 to zero. But Google said, we'll give you the $70,000 as an exception because the other bug, apparently they've had for a while, and they just haven't felt like it was, they misunderstood or something. He doesn't know, but they didn't fix it. It wasn't until his bug came in and he actually showed engineers directly that they said, "Okay, we better fix this." So they gave him. So that's the accidental $70,000.
So did they give the $100,000 to the whoever did it beforehand?
The original?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, funny.
He doesn't know. And then later since Android is open source, he went and dug through the code because he figured it was like a one-line fix somewhere. Apparently, it was many files, and there's the explanation of how this was coded in and how it could bypass.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so the article actually has links to the source code and the changes to the various files and how they did it. So pretty cool. Good for this person. Got a $70,000 accidentally, but it was the persistence that paid off. Kind of going after and keep poking at Google. Hey. And because originally they said, well, we might not fix it till January. And he said, well, I'm going to publish my stuff in October. But he didn't want to because, this is basically showing anybody how to unlock a Google phone. And so he waited until, and then, anyways, the article goes into more detail. But there you go. If you have an Android phone, make sure you're up to date with the latest security fix. Because otherwise someone can get into your phone. There you go.
Okay, I got to read this. Actual. When you said that, hey, they showed the code. I want to go see what the code is.
Yep.
But okay, I'll have to take a look at that. All right. I threw in 2 articles tonight. The first one is about a supply chain.
Ah.
I don't know about an attack, but know your sources, or maybe can you even know your sources? So this is a Reuters article about exclusive Russian software disguised as American. I'm trying to read the title from the URL slug, and it is not awesome. Hold on. What is the actual title of this article? Exclusive. Russian software disguised as American finds its way into U.S. Army CDC apps, and many, many, many more. So this is a plugin, a module called Push Whoosh that presents itself as being an American company, but is actually Russian. And there's lots of suspicious stuff in here. So let's see. So it says, according to company documents filed publicly filed in Russia and reviewed by Reuters, Pushwoosh is headquartered in the Siberian town of Novosibirsk, where it is registered as a software company. On social media and U.S. regulatory filings, however, it presents itself as a U.S. company based at various times in California, Maryland, and Washington, D.C. On its website, it says it does not collect sensitive information, And it says, and Reuters found no evidence Pushwoosh mishandled user data. So, it's not necessarily that there's a smoking gun here or anything like that. But the funny thing is that Reuters was in contact with the founder. It says Pushwoosh's founder, Max Konev, told Reuters in a September email that the company had not tried to mask its Russian origins. I'm proud to be Russian and would never hide this. Okay. But Pushwoosh published a blog post after the first Reuters article was issued, which said, and here's the quote inside the article quote, Pushwoosh is a privately held C Corp company incorporated under the state laws of Delaware, USA. Pushwoosh Inc. was never owned by any company registered in the Russian Federation. Okay, they said, and then it goes on to say Pushwoosh used to outsource development of parts of the product to the Russian company Novosibirsk, mentioned in the article. However, in February 22, Pushwoosh terminated the contract. Okay, so then Reuters, after Pushwoosh published that post, Reuters asked Pushwoosh to provide evidence for its assertions, but the agency request went unanswered. So, of course, they go on digging, and it says that, it says, in U.S. regulatory filings and social media, Pushwoosh never mentioned its Russian links. The company lists Washington, D.C. as its location on Twitter and claims an office that turns out to be the home of a Russian friend of Konev's, who spoke to Reuters, but said that he had nothing to do with Pushwoosh and only agreed to allow Konev to use his address to receive mail. But their filings in Delaware, where it's registered, doesn't mention anything about Russia, but they mention a home address in Union City, California, as the principal place of business that doesn't actually exist. And then kind of the coup de grace is for two LinkedIn accounts of, executives' accounts hypothetically belonging to Washington, D.C. based employees. Neither of them actually exist. They said one of them, I didn't pull this into my notes, but one of them used the image and of a woman from Australia, an Australia-based dance teacher. So the CDC and the U.S. Army have removed it from their apps. But it is used in many, many, many other apps, both iOS and Google. Google.
Not for long.
Yeah. It says Pushwoosh code has been embedded into almost 8,000 apps in the Google and Apple app stores, according to App Figures, an app intelligence website. And they collect, it says Pushwoosh collects user data, including precise geolocation on sensitive and governmental apps, which could allow for invasive tracking at scale. So, there you go. Supply chain matters. You should just, pip install that. It's fine. Okay. My second one. Evidently, I'm all about software compromise tonight. So the second one is about 15,000 compromised WordPress websites. So this is a Hacker News post, but it says that the interesting thing for me in this one was that the goal of the WordPress compromise seems to be SEO to basically try and rank up some low quality Q&A sites so they can get advertising revenue, so they can rank higher in Google search results and get advertising revenue. Because it says that, let's see, a new malicious campaign has compromised over 15,000 WordPress websites in an attempt to redirect visitors to bogus Q&A portals. These malicious redirects appear to be designed to increase the authority of the attacker's sites for search engines. Security researcher Ben Martin said in a report published last week, calling it a clever black hat SEO trick. The search engine poisoning technique is designed to promote a handful of, here's a quote, or quote inside the quote, handful of fake, low-quality Q&A sites that share similar website building templates and are operated by the same threat actor. So it said that they were able to modify more than 100 files per website on average. Quote, an approach that contrasts dramatically from other attacks of this kind, wherein only a limited number of files are tampered with to reduce footprint and escape detection. So, they using the word extensive compromise. It's worth pointing out, it says, that the redirects don't occur if the WordPress logged in cookie is present, or if the current page is wplogin.php, i.e. the login page, to avoid raising suspicion. And it says, let's see, the injected code achieves this by initiating a redirect to a PNG image hosted on a domain that, instead of loading an image, takes the website visitor to a Google search result of a spam Q&A domain. So, I don't know. The roundabout way in order to get paid is the interesting.
It's like one of those, if you just put the effort into doing something positive instead of, you'd think you could make a similar amount of money.
Right?
And maybe then still feel better about yourself. I don't know.
It's crazy.
Seems like a lot of work for
pennies.
Whatever.
I don't. There's so much advertising fraud.
Yeah.
We've talked about that at the time. The maybe disappointing thing about the article is that they don't actually talk about how the exploit actually did it. In fact, it says. It's not clear how the WordPress sites are breached, and it said there, no obvious plugin flaws being exploited. So it's probably just a case of brute forcing WordPress administrator accounts, and and or collecting them, and then going in sort of wide scale destruction. But I thought the whole SEO optimization was, or SEO gamesmanship maybe, was an interesting outcome for this one. So that's why I included it. So there you go. How about something fun?
Oh, okay. So my something fun is probably more fun for Eric than for anybody else. But I find generally time and how we deal with time and how people interpret time fascinating, and how time measures things, right? So you know what a second is, right? A second, traditionally, the second is defined in astronomical terms, right? The Earth rotates once on its axis is 24 hours. 24 hours in a day, 60 minutes in an hour, 60 seconds in a minute. So a second is 86,400th of a day, right?
Okay.
So there you go. That's a second. Now, that's how it's been for a long time. In 1967, meteorologists began measuring time with atomic clocks. And the official length of time that everybody decided was a second was 9,192,631, or 9,192,631,770 vibrations of an atom of cesium-133. So that was
not 775, 770.
770, exactly. So that was what a second was. But Earth's rotation slows from year to year and is not constant. So that astronomical second grows longer than the atomic one. And so to compensate for this, meteorologists have just been occasionally inserting an extra second, a leap second, here or there to the end of the atomic day. Now, this is different than the leap day. February 29th, we have every 4 years. It's different than that. So in 1972, 10 leap seconds were added to the atomic scale, and 27 more leap seconds to the atomic scale have been added since. And that whole extra second in figuring out how to do that is, Earth's rotation is erratic, leap seconds irregular and unpredictable. Before computers and, things that really care about high fidelity time, it didn't matter. A millisecond here, it was kind of didn't really matter. But digital networks care, and if they can't agree on time, things start to go haywire. And so there's this whole article in the New York Times. It unfortunately takes you have to have a subscription or use one of your, 3 free articles a day. But if you are fascinated by time like me, this is a great article that goes through. And so they are proposing to get rid of the leap second. And, the whole point of time and scale, everything is measured, a meter. And I think I actually brought this up. This was one of my something funs a while back. In 2018, I think it was, or maybe it was the kilogram, got redefined in terms of a second. The length of a meter is determined by time. The how far light travels during one very small portion of a second. The distance is how much a meter is. So that's how they measure. Mass, temperature, intensity, light. Everything is measured. Time defines how everything is measured. And so there's been this international argument. There's this whole part of the article about the international body that decides how everybody agrees on time. But it has this problem of this weird atomic leap second that they have to add in here or there or yonder. And then it goes into, hey, well, what we should do and what is being currently proposed by some people is we should use GPS, because GPS needs high fidelity time, and GPS doesn't include this weird leap second thing. And the people who are in charge of that is like, well, yeah, GPS is good at keeping time, but that means that time would no longer be overseen by an organization outside the U.S. military, because the U.S. military is the one that GPS owns time signals in GPS. And there's other parts where, the international community, it's been a political battle to get rid of this second for forever, because the Russian satellite system uses UTC and they handle the leap second. So they've been delaying, saying, if you switch to this other unit of time, it's going to mess everything we have up. So there's just tons of stuff that's going in here. There's even a note about how big software companies manage leap seconds. I love the quote here. It's like, Google smears an extra second across the whole day. Meta, Alibaba, and Microsoft each add an extra second in their own bespoke way.
You can have your own bespoke second.
Apparently. And over time, the number of errors implementing this leap second is continuing to increase. And then to just even be more exciting, instead of just adding a leap second, and what happens, by adding time, the Earth's rotation began speeding up right around the time the leap second was invented. But in the next month or so, Earth time will catch up to atomic time. And they're saying that by about 2030, if this trend persists, Earth time will overtake the atomic time by about a second. So you're going to have to actually insert a negative leap second to keep the two time scales in sync. and nobody knows what will happen if you subtract time. Like if time goes away,
Wow.
they're what happens, uh, to computer systems that depend on this. What happens, and so, anyways,
Can't you
nobody
just
knows what to
not
do.
add the next leap second?
Uh,
I,
but well,
maybe.
you'll have to subtract 2 seconds because Earth time is now past where because they're out of phase. So
Interesting.
anyways, so there's this whole. It's a great. I love time and the intricacies around the constant. The only constant is time.
This is a
And it's fabulous.
fractal argument. Like it's so
Yeah.
the minutia of these
Yeah.
down in the you think you're in the weeds,
And
but no, you're down inside the microscopic what are they called,
and I love
cilia
it.
of a
I
bacterium.
love it. Anyways, that's my something fun this week is
Okay.
we're getting rid of the atomic leap second, or trying to.
I'll rate that as
Otherwise,
funnish.
we're going to have y negative 1 second k, whatever the y2k equivalent is for subtracting, having time disappear to keep clocks in sync. Anyways,
that's
there you go.
Awesome. That's awesome. All right. Well, I was going to do something fun, but it's still downloading the model, I think. So that's not going to be my fun. I will instead choose the a link that JR put into Slack, which is galactica.org. So,
okay. Battlestar?
Maybe? I don't know. I never saw Battlestar Galactica, so at least.
What?
No.
Not the original nor the new one?
I mean, when I was a kid, I saw a few episodes of the first one, but not no, I didn't, and no to the second either.
Oh, the new one.
Eric,
good.
you know the answer to any question. John, have you seen X? Is no. Like for almost any X. So,
go watch Andor. All right, continue.
Okay, go watch Andor. Okay, yeah, I have not seen that either. There's so many things to do in this world that actually,
I know.
and it's bad because I watch a lot of YouTube. I totally watch a lot of YouTube, so I can't, at least lately. Anyway, okay, so it says Galactica is an AI trained on humanity's scientific knowledge. You can use it as an interface to access and manipulate what we know about the universe. So it says, so I'm actually not looking at my notes. It says, the original promise of computing was to solve information overload in science, but classical computers were specialized for retrieval and storage, not pattern recognition. As a result, we've had an explosion of information, but not of intelligence, the means to process it. So, they trained this on over 48 million papers, textbooks, reference materials, compounds, proteins, and other sources of scientific knowledge. You can use it to explore the literature, ask scientific questions, write scientific code, and much more. So you can basically ask it to generate papers, or ask it questions. Let's see, generate wiki article, generate literature review, lecture notes, answers. Anyway, I've asked it a few questions here. It seems pretty cool. So, the other thing I guess I was going to say here was the cautions, the limitations. You should be aware of the following limitations when using the model. Language models can hallucinate. There's no guarantee of truthful or reliable output from language models, even large ones trained on high-quality data. Never follow advice from a language model without verification. Apple Maps would like to concur. So language models are frequency biased. Galactica is good for generating content about well-cited concepts, but does less well for less cited concepts and ideas where hallucination is more likely. Language models are often confident, but wrong. Some of the Galactica's generated text may appear very authentic and highly confident, but might be subtly wrong in important ways. This is particularly the case for highly technical content. Yes. I mean, imagine... some of the stable diffusion image generation algorithms and the details of this person does not exist, or generated images that the details are a little warpy. So anyway, that being said, it is pretty interesting. Some interesting things. So. I just typed in a question while you were talking about your thing. What is the definition of a second? And Galactica says, defined by taking the fixed numerical value of the cesium frequency to be 9,192,630 or 192,631,770.
I think it's funny you made the same mistake on that number that
concurs.
I did.
Yes, well,
Great minds.
Yes, exactly, or something. But I asked a few other things. Why does flocking occur? Flocking is a collective behavior of a group of organisms, such as birds, fish, or insects that move in the same direction. Okay. How does a DNN work? It has a good definition of a DNN, or how a DNN works. Goodish. I appreciated yours. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? The answer is 1,000. I don't know quite what that is, but I guess it is a confident answer.
It's 1,000 watts. 1,000 woods? 1,000 chucks?
1,000. I think 1,000 woods is what it must be. So and then I asked another one. What are Jupiter's moons? And it says here. This is, I don't know. Jupiter's moons are the moons of Jupiter, the largest planet in the solar system. Okay. Jupiter has 79 known moons, of which 53 are named. The largest by far is the gas giant Jupiter itself. Okay, I don't think that's a moon, which is 11 times the mass of all the other moons combined. Again, I don't think it's a moon. The next largest is the moon Ganymede, which is larger than the planet Mercury. I didn't know that. The smallest is Amalthea, which is only 1.5 kilometers across. I also didn't know that. That's cool. The largest number of moons in orbit around a single planet is 79 for Jupiter. Okay, you strung that fact together, but the whole paragraph is supposed to be about Jupiter. The Galilean moons are the 4 largest moons of Jupiter, and the first 4 discovered. They are Io, Europa, Ganymede, and Callisto. They're named after characters in the tale of Jupiter's wife, Io, by the Roman poet Virgil. The largest number of moons in orbit around a single planet is 79 for Jupiter.
They really want you to
just
know that
said that
fact.
So, it's AI generated text, but there you go. That's kind of cool, though.
So I asked while you're doing that, why do people sneeze?
Oh,
he answered, sneezing is a reflex that protects the body from irritants in the air. Huh. Okay.
Is that true?
I will have to verify that.
I'm going to go, yeah, that sounds pretty basic. Anyway, but there you go. That's cool. So, DALL-E for scientific answers.
Nice.
So, there you go. Something fun. Thank you, JR.
Yes. Good stuff. All right, John.
All right, my friend. Call it a show. I will see you, I guess, later.
Next week. We're getting close to 5 times 52.
Are we actually going to do something?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
We haven't done anything for any other anniversary.
We are truly the worst. And I don't know what we're going to do with, Twitter is the only thing we ever do anything on, and we don't even really do much on that, but I'm,
And what happens when Twitter goes away?
Twitter is spiraling the drain. So I guess I haven't set up a Mastodon account, but I guess that's the next thing. We'll see.
Yeah.
Whatevs. All right,
yeah,
man.
We'll find out. All right, dude.
Talk to you later.
Have a good night.
Bye.
We'll see you. Bye.